In the early morning hours of August 11, 1960, 56-year-old Charles Mourey was found dead with three .22 caliber pistol wounds in his face and chest. He had been severely beaten after being shot. His body was left in the gravel and dirt of a Miami lover's lane. He was wearing a light-colored sports shirt, casual pants, and thick-rimmed glasses. He had $9 in his pocket and a silver bracelet on his wrist, ruling out a successful robbery as the motive for the murder. One newspaper report referred to the French-born army man as a pudgy, middle-aged bachelor with no known interest in women and a taste for fussy personal decoration. The fancy decoration they referred to was Mourey's flowered satin underwear. Mr. Mourey was in Miami on a 6-day vacation. When police searched his room at the YMCA, they found $240 and few other personal effects. They found no other indications of why he might have been murdered. Though they lacked a suspect, police were fairly certain the murder was the result of an attempt to, quote, roll a queer. One of the consequences of driving homosexuality underground was that it made sport out of targeting mostly gay men for blackmail, robbery, assault, and murder. Despite 32 detectives and 4 lieutenants being assigned to the early stages of the case, and despite questioning over 50 men, including what the newspapers referred to as known perverts, meaning gay men, investigators had nothing, and Mourey's murder would eventually land in the cold case files. 26 years later, 40-year-old Earl Bernath and an accomplice were arrested on an armed robbery charge. While in custody, an informant came forward to tell police that Bernath had information about the 1960 murder. The informant had details about the victim, leading detectives to Mourey's cold case file. The informant also told police that 4 of Bernath's high school classmates had witnessed the shooting. Police interviewed the classmates. All of them denied any knowledge of the murder. 2 months later, investigators spoke to Bernath again. According to police, this time he made a statement. Police would later claim Bernath had confessed, something Bernath later disputed. In 1986, Bernath pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 to 43 years in prison. In accepting the plea, Bernath told the judge he had no confidence in his lawyers. In a statement to the court, Bernath told the judge that he had fallen in bad company when he was a teenager. He then asked the judge, if they ever find the guy who killed this man, can this case be brought back? The judge replied, sure. While researching the details of this case, I found a newspaper article about Earl Bernath. In January of 1960, Bernath went missing from the home where he lived with his mother and father. One day they received, his parents, a phone call from him saying that he could not come home and they couldn't help him, that he had been forced into a life of gun running and drug dealing. In tears, he told his parents goodbye and hung up. A few days later, he returned home and resumed his high school life, which eventually included shooting and beating poor Mr. Mourey. Charles J. Mourey led a fascinating life. He was one of General Patton's drivers in World War II. He also worked as a butler for the silent movie star Hope Hampton, whose card was in his possession at the time of his murder. When contacted, she spoke very highly of him. I discovered this case in a 1960 newspaper article grappling with the growing trend at the time of targeting gay men for blackmail and robbery. One of the things I find sort of dislocating is the amount of police manpower brought to bear to solve this case at a time when homosexuality was illegal and gay people, even victims of violent crime, were often referred to as perverts by the police and by the press. Though the LGBTQ+ community has come a long way when it comes to treatment under the law, there is always more to be done, and proof of that can be found in the alarming number of unsolved murders in the community in general and amongst Black transgender women specifically. According to the FBI, hate crimes based on sexual orientation are the 3rd most common type after race and religion. As it was true in 1960, it is true today. Being gay doesn't kill people, but homophobia does. Please subscribe to the channel.